Yo, welcome to another episode of Clangin and Bangin with Mikey, episode 171. As you guys just saw on the screen, I'm watching the NBA, end of the regular season, and congratulations on the Knicks on getting the first 50-win season in the last 23 years. There are some things that are just iconic. Knicks, for example. I've never been to an actual NBA game. Even when I was living in California, the closest team to me was the Kings. And this is back in the day where you could buy tickets for $20, and you could watch superstars play. That's how cheap the tickets were, because nobody wanted to watch the Kings play because the Kings were horrible. This is when they only had Buddy Hield, a young Buddy Hield, a really young DeAndre Fox. And I don't believe Sabonis was on the team yet. No, he wasn't on the team yet. But yeah, you couldn't give away these tickets. That's how cheap they were. And but one arena that I really want to go to, that my brother's been, before he passed, he had gone to New York City a bunch of times, and he even went to Madison Square Garden. And I'm like, hey, I remember he was sending me pictures of the memorabilia, all kinds of stuff, right? And he was like, yo, like if you ever get a chance to go, you gotta go, man. It's like it's I don't want to say that it's life changing, but it was definitely life changing for him. But welcome to another episode of Clangin Bang with Mikey, episode 171. And today, what we're gonna talk about is understanding your role in any situation. And it necessarily doesn't have to mean a good thing or a bad thing, but knowing your role is a great indication of how you want to play it. And what I mean by that is, like, not everything needs to be verbalized, not everything needs to be spoken upon. A lot of the times people will stay in situations, whether they're relationships or friendships or marriages, whatever it is, right? Simply because they've known this individual or individuals for such a long time. And it's interesting, man. A lot of the people I know, they're married. I'm 35, gonna be 36. Most of the people that I know, they're married. Majority of them are not. And what's interesting in their situations, around years 6, 7, 8, in that age gap, they always go to couple counseling, right? And I'm like, it's interesting because I know 3 people who've been married around the same time, and they all do that. And I asked them, like, oh, so like, what's the reason for you guys going to couples therapy or couples counseling, right? Number one, I want to know because I think it's interesting, right? And then I read somewhere that they call it the 7-year itch, And I think a lot of people get comfortable, they get complacent with their significant other. And a lot of the times, people would tell me, oh, so-and-so doesn't plan this, or something, I'm always the one planning things, and, that type of stuff, or he or she doesn't want to spend any time with me, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, okay, cool, I get all that, I understand all that. But you got to realize, too, that sometimes a lot of you guys be a lot, and people need a break from each other, I'm not saying go off and cheat or, just do some fuckboy shit or, go hop on the nearest dick that you can, that you can get your hands on, because that's not the answer. But at the same time, too, if you're always in a situation where you're never being heard and you're always being disregarded as for being argumentative, or just the only time that y'all really have any type of conversations is when you guys are yelling at each other, you have to take stock of that as well. Like, you don't want to raise kids or bring kids into a situation with somebody that you don't even want to talk to, and I think that's extremely paramount, because kids will pick up on every little thing that their parents try to hide. It doesn't matter what it is. That's what kids do. Kids pick up on things like that. And what's interesting too is that a lot of people will sit there and make excuses. They'll sit there and they'll make excuses, play the blame game or whatever it is, and it's like, me myself, all the girls I've dated, all the girls I've gone out with, like, I've never ever talked bad about them. Because at one point in time, like, yo, like, you were exactly what I was looking for, and vice versa. So I don't understand how people talk bad about somebody else, simply based off the fact that it's like, yo, like, but at one point in time, they were exactly what you wanted. So what are you complaining about, right? And I think I'm never ever going to sit there and not take accountability for my role in the situation. But what I won't do, I won't sit there and let somebody bash their former significant other, whether they're your girlfriend, your husband, your wife, whatever it is, right? Married or not, you're not going to sit there and bash the person, in front of me, and be like, I'm gonna be like, no, because at one point in time, like, these individuals, or this individual, was exactly what you wanted, was exactly what you was looking for, and so, no, don't do that. Like, don't sit there and bash them simply because you can. Or don't sit there and do that because, number one, it's like that makes you look really, really fucking weak. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't realize, man. It's like, knowing your role is extremely important, but also knowing that when things ain't working out, have them in-depth conversations. Don't go to your homeboy. Don't go to your homegirl, because two things are gonna happen. A shoulder to cry becomes a dick to hop on. Homeboy's perspective. I'm not saying all men are like that, but I'm saying a shoulder to cry on becomes a dick to hop on. That's all I'm saying. On the flip side, don't ever tell your girlfriends about what you got going on, whether it's in the bedroom or what type of relationship it is, or how y'all beefing, yada yada yada, because they will give you some of the most worst advice ever, especially if they single. Don't bring up your relationship to a bitch, and I say that respectfully. Don't bring up your relationship to somebody who's never been in a successful relationship. I'm talking about the one who's a serial dater. I'm talking about the one who just every relationship or everything that they that they have goes bad, and they're sitting there blaming the other individual. Like, no, don't do that. Like, you never ever want to bring up your issues in front of them, because it's not gonna do anything. If anything, it's just gonna cause more chaos. And I remember this one girl, I knew her in college, and then we worked together for a little bit, while we was in college. I remember, and we was all young. We was like maybe in our, we was all in our early 20s. And so with that being said, man, she was having some issues with her boyfriend at the time, and I said, yo, it's like what's the issue? Like, what's going on? Because it's like, and she was saying something like, oh yeah, well, he's needy, X, Y, and Z, yada yada yada. You're like, okay, cool, I get all that, but why is he that? Are you not doing, everything that you said you was gonna do, or are you too busy to the point where you don't have the time to what do you call that, to provide him with that? And she was like, well, it's like, yeah, it's like, because believe it or not, it's like, people get used to having a certain amount of access to somebody or whatever it is, or that type of shit. And which brings me to another thing too. I'm not saying infidelity's right. I'm not saying that it's okay, because it's not. But I understand why some people cheat. It's like, especially dealing with a lot of these women that I know personally. They'll sit there and they'll they won't take self accountability for their role in anything. And like, when you see how they handle conflict, whether I've been involved in it where it's just a friendship, and they're just adamant on not, saying that they were wrong, more or less, right? Or like, they'll leave certain things out in a situation, and then you find out down the road that what you knew or what you thought was the whole truth wasn't even close to remotely a portion of it. And I can see why some people do what they do. It's like, yo, it's like, if you can't even be truthful with me, and I'm just a homeboy, or you a homegirl, whatever it is, I can kind of see why that other individual did what they did. I can understand it. I mean, I'm not saying that it's right, but I get it. It's always interesting to me too. It's like when people end these long-term relationships, and they want to sit there and they want to bash the guy, and I've had females that I know do it too, and I'm like, no. I was like, no. It's like, we're not doing that. They're like, what? It's like, yeah, we're not doing that, because at one point in time, y'all were talking about marriage. At one point in time, y'all were talking about having kids, this and that. It doesn't go from that to this in the span of overnight. And I think at the end of the day, that's a lot of people will over benefit the relationship and not realize that the energy is not getting reciprocated, or not realize that they think they're over benefiting the relationship, but in reality they're not. They're just picking up the slack because the other person doesn't give a shit. And when people come to you with grievances, and they come to you with certain things that that's been on their mental, and you don't address it in a way that's conducive to helping you get through the issue, because it's never you and the other person versus it's never you versus the other person versus the problem. It's you and the other person versus the problem. Like, you got to remember that you're a team. It's like you're, what you go through, she's gonna go through it as well, or vice versa, and you got to be there. A lot of people, they love it when shit's easy. They love it when shit is all fucking sunshine and rainbows. When everything's easy, everybody's like, yeah, boom, 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 boom. But in reality, when shit gets difficult, when shit gets hard, it's like, people will crumble. A lot of people ain't built for that. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that you're dealing with people who don't know how to what's the word? They can't keep accountability with themselves. So how are they gonna keep you accountable? You know, they're not. I've had several people, men and women, complain about their exes. I'm like, nah, like, bro, don't do that. Sis, don't do that, because it's like, now you're just looking stupid. They're like, what? It's like, yeah. It's like, now you look stupid, because it's like, here you are complaining about somebody that you know that you was sleeping next to, and the whole entire relationship. Of course, there's issues, you know, but there is no issue, you know. Obviously, the issues weren't as bad as we didn't make it seem as bad as they were, right? And I think a lot of times when it's like when you're dealing with people like that, and when you bring it to them real, and they're like, wait, what? It's like, yeah, it's like like you're not gonna sit there and play in my face about it. You know, like you don't have that luxury of sitting there and bullshitting me, because majority of the time your circle has been there since the beginning. You know? Majority of the time it's like these people know exactly what the fuck you did and what the fuck they did, you know, and I was having a conversation with one of my day one partners, and he said, my definition of day one is different. It's not niggas that I knew from the sandbox. It's niggas that I know that have never changed up on me, you know. I'm talking from high school, college, you know, and life in general. It's like there's 3 people in my phone, bro, that nigga I can call, and they gonna stop what they doing, and they gonna hit me back. You know, it may not be in that moment, you know, but they gonna hit me back. You know, because we all get busy. We all have lives, right? I was talking to my partner the other day, and we was talking about some previous situations, and he was like, dog, he's like, that was God protecting you, bro. I was like, what? He's like, yeah. He's like, homie. He's like, that was God looking out for you, because it's like any other man would have just dove right into that shit. And it's true. Because that particular individual right now is like, like, you ever look at somebody and then you realize that the only reason that they were so important is because you made them important? Yeah. And then you start looking at their life, and like you start seeing shit, and I'm like, yeah, it ain't worth it. It ain't worth it, because number one is like they're never ever gonna see the bigger picture. They're just gonna see what, you know, what it was, and from their skewed point of view. And a lot of people, well, they're not built for that. They're, you know, like they're not built for a healthy communication. And a lot of people, which brings me to my last point. I was watching this clip on Dr. Umar, and I don't agree with a lot of shit. You know, some of the shit he says is okay, cool. I 100% agree on. And some of the shit I'm like, nah, bruh, I don't, you know, I ain't fucking with that. Anyway, this clip he's talking about traumatized people are always hypersexual, and he goes on to explain it, and like it got me thinking. I'm like, pretty much every situation I've been in, whether a one night stand or casual fling, it's always because the girl is somewhat traumatized in some way. You know, it doesn't matter what it is, and it's true to a point. I'm not saying all people are like that, but majority of the people that I've run into or who have shown interest in me is because they're only offering one thing, and that's sex. And it's crazy to me how they want to be treated differently. It's like, but look at what you're doing, you know, like every dude that you running into, you know, you trying to jump in their sheets. Or every dude that you running into is like, it's not even a friendship at first. It's like you're out here just like throwing it in text messages, or you out here sending pics and videos, and it's like you expect a dude to expect that when a homeboy hasn't even earned it? You know? Or you expect a guy to treat you as a girlfriend, but the only time that y'all spend any time together is like y'all naked? Make it make sense. You know, understand how you perceive yourself is a huge thing. And to wrap it all back up, you know, knowing your role is important, but knowing when to leave the situation is extremely important too. Because you don't want to be in a situation where you've sacrificed years or decades with somebody and they ain't that. All right, y'all. This is about 21 minutes of life that y'all won't get back. Hope y'all keeping the 4 P's. Private player, positive pushing. I love y'all. See y'all next week. And like I always say, know your worth because you better know what you are.